So now we're going to move into our topic. So being gender nonconforming in the Latinx community. Gender norms in several cultures is a very, important thing. And a lot of our history is sort of based off of how we think the role of women and men should play in our society. Mm-hmm. But I do think that I'm so blessed to live in an age where being gender nonconforming is on the forefront, and we have more people who are comfortable saying so. Even people who are allies who are just kind of like, you know what? Yeah, like maybe I am cis, but like I feel now more comfortable sort of like even in my style or the way I carry myself a little bit more comfortable not staying within the norms because everybody should just be able to sort of live freely. Yeah. But, our abuelas are still here, our mothers and other generations are still here. And there are still challenges that we see when people sort of step out of their shell and are just being themselves. One example we were talking about is like even like with our teen generations, there's a lot of kids that are a lot braver or can be a lot braver than, kids were when we were in high school. But like there's still some days where you have to decide like, am I going to ride the train with my face beat if I'm a dude? Am I going to like, yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience, being gender nonconforming. And like, again, when I said your fashion is incredible, like it doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter what touches of makeup. It doesn't, jewelry, there's just, you're curly and Skittles is Skittles. And like, there's such a way in which.
And Julissa is Julissa.
And Julissa is Julissa, right? And so like, there's a way that the idea of identity is being broken down so much that people are really being able to come forth as who they are, and whether they're boy, girl, whatever the fuck, it's like, no, you are you.
You're you.
But there are challenges around that. So I'd love if you guys could share some of the challenges around that.
I think it's interesting because I actually asked you, remember, like last time, I think when we first met, I was like, oh, what are your preferred pronouns? Because I wasn't sure what you liked and what you were just comfortable with. And I think, like, for me, like, I always say the language is very new. For me, like, if I was, like, younger, I think I would have identified as a they, them. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember as a kid, people would get confused in my gender all the time. Like, my beard hadn't grown in. My voice wasn't, like, this tone. It was a little softer. My voice has always been really soft. I had big curly hair, and people would stop me and be like, I'm so sorry. I just can't tell what you are. Like, what are you? Or, it would be something that they would make fun of me, like, oh, like, what is that? Like, what are they? You know what I mean? Now, so then I kind of, like, as I got older, it's like, oh, I need to lean a little bit more. I'm almost like neither. Like, I feel like if I go too masculine, I don't like it. And if I go too feminine, I don't like it either. So I like to live, like, in the middle. Like, so I self-identify still as, like, inwardly, like, both. But outwardly, I'm always like, oh, I'm just he, him, just because it makes it easier, because I feel like generation-wise, age group, it's still tough for people.
I agree. We actually had a similar conversation the other day with Julissa, where I was explaining to her about how, like, growing up, like you said, the language is new. And I was also, like, and I was also just, like, super immature about it. Like, being a gay man was a bad thing in the hood, but being, like, anything other than a gay man that could possibly lean towards, like, trans or whatever was, like, unspoken of. Wow. You know what I mean? And so for me, like, I automatically went to the baggy jeans and the fucking shirts that went down to your knees and stuff like that to try and appear more and more like a boy. Also, having a buzz cut, no makeup or anything.
This is before the YouTube years, though.
This is way before the YouTube years. And so, growing up, it didn't matter that I was doing all of that, because I was still getting, you walk like a girl, you talk like a girl, you act like a girl. Do you like boys?
Yeah.
Oh, he must be bisexual because he dresses like a boy, but he acts like a girl, like literally, like little things like that from other peers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's the word that was like that.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, and so, like, with that, then I went to LaGuardia, which is this magical place of lesbians and gays just being free and whatnot. Again and
shout out LaGuardia.
Shout out LaGuardia. Everybody's so focused on their art and like the stuff that's going on with them that they weren't really pressed about what we were doing.
That's so cool.
And so as the years went on, my Air Force Ones and my baggy jeans, my jeans got a little snugger, I started matching more, and, like, my hair got longer, and, like, you could tell the year of high school I was in by how long my hair was.
Oh, wow.
And so then it wasn't until I got to college that I started messing around with makeup. And so, you know, and then that's kind of how, like, I really kind of grew into myself and really kind of, you know, just being like, fuck it, because at some point I was either going to get a dirty look or you were really fucking with me. And if you're fucking with me, then I fuck with you. And if you're not fucking with me, then you can go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? One of those types of things. But the vocabulary, the language was not there. Gender nonconforming was not there. You know? And so I was just a gay man. And so when people ask me...
say like a pretty gay man.
Yes, thank you.
That's what we used to say back then. I just like to be pretty. Like, we didn't have those words. I interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, so like the language wasn't there. So I was just a gay man, he, him. That was it. That's all I knew. Now, you know, I'm open to saying they, them, and I probably would have done it earlier if it existed back then.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm going to jump in, and I don't even know if you remember this, but there once upon a time, years ago, we were probably in high school. We've already done Spanish Girls Say at this point. And I remember we were having a conversation with someone, and SkittLeZ had expressed, like, you know, well, like, someone was asking him, like, okay, so are you a drag queen or, like, are you trying to be trans? And you were like, well, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not trying to be trans, but there was this weird, like, but am I, like, mislabeling myself? And there was, like, a moment of, like, having another, not identity crisis, that's, like, too dramatic, but a moment of, like, wait a minute, have I been doing this wrong? Like, you know what I mean?
No, seriously.
So if you can speak to that, but I do remember that time.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to Julissa. I've literally been like, wait, am I trans? Like, am I? But I've never felt like, I've always heard with trans people that the story is like you feel uncomfortable, you feel
in your cis body,
and I've never felt that. You know what I mean? So.
See, I felt that for a long time, for years. I had felt like I was had been born in the wrong body for years, up until I was like, I would say 18. I was like, this is wrong. This is wrong. Like, I'm a girl. Like, and I don't understand like what's happening. And so I kind of tried to navigate in that space with my looks, right? Now, I always tell people, I'm like, look, when we get to heaven and you call for me or whatever, a girl's probably going to show up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right, so now we're going to wrap up with our Dame Luz section. So Dame Luz, you're going to give us some light on something. I know recently, like, I've been heavy into my spirituality. I've had a lot of crazy shit happen in my life, and I've needed to find a way to refocus and recenter. And in a way, growing up, I used to, like, one really quick story that I always love to tell is, so on September 11th, the night before, I had a dream that I was running through smoke. And I was running
the day before September 11th too.
Fuck.
Yeah. I'll tell you mine after.
You know, and so I was running through smoke, and it was like a very vivid image. And I remember I woke up and I felt really weird. It was the first week of middle school for me. And I felt really, really strange. So I told my mom, like, I don't really want to go to school. She thinks it's new school jitters. And I'm like, I just don't feel safe.
Wow.
Like, what? And I felt really strange. I got in the elevator, and for the first time ever in my, at that point, maybe like 11 years living in that building, one of the lights in the elevator was off and only one of them was on, and it was eerie in the elevator, and I was like, see this shit, something like, and I told my mom, I was like, I feel like I really shouldn't go to school, and she's like, mira, vamos, métete en la guagua, ya, deja tu show. And then when it hit, like, and when my teacher came in crying, because my teacher left the classroom, they came in a hot fucking mess, and whatever, blah, 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 get home, finally, after being picked up. And the first image I see on the TV was almost identical the image I had in my head of people running through smoke the day before. And it freaked me out. Like, I would shake in my sleep for months. Like, just like, I definitely should have been in therapy. My poor mother, I don't think, figured that out very quickly. So I had to sort of, like, deal with it. And she would always just be like, oh, well, pray, just pray, just pray, just pray. But it freaked me out. And there's several other instances and examples like that. So, you know, as an adult, like, I, you know, grew up Christian and, like, do believe in God and all that stuff, but I always felt like there was something more, and that I had some sort of weird fucking connection. Like, I could read things, I can sense people. Sometimes I'd, like, can walk around strangers and I know exactly what they're thinking. And in my head, I'm like, oh, you're writing a script in your head. You're imagining these things. Oh, wow. And really what it is, and then, like, it comes to fruition in a way, and what I didn't know that I had was intuition.
Wow.
Right, and I didn't know that, like, slightly, you know, like, intuitive, but also, like, clairvoyant to a degree. And so I started picking up on that vocabulary a little more, and shout out to Mama Vida, who is one of my, it's like one of my mentors. Love her very much. And so went through a lot of trauma recently, and then was like, okay, I kind of want to go back to that place of what felt like magic, the place where I felt like I was so connected and I can really like ground myself and move forward and make decisions that are really heart-based and not ego-based. So I'm really into that shit now. I wear my rocks, I like my candles, all this shit. And I know, you know, as you on your Instagram, you describe yourself as a bruja. I'd love to know a little bit about your meditation methods. What do you connect?
Well,
what do you love?
I super love, because I think that a lot of this magic that a lot of us, I call it magic because I think that's what it is, and intuition and all these things. Like, I think it comes from like our ancestors. Like,
agreed.
I think a lot of Latinx people forget that we really are mixtures of the most ancient cultures in the world, right? So like, if you're Afro-Latina, you have like this ancient culture. If you're like mestizo, like you have this ancient culture that runs through you. So like, part of the reason why I love LA so much is because I can feel that my ancestors have just moved basically up and down from the middle of Central America, like Central America, up to California. Like, mi abuelito siempre nos decía que nosotros venimos del centro de América. Like, we are from the very center. And I fuck with Central American too, because I know we party with the Caribbean people for sure.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you do.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
We eat, like, our food is so similar. Like, I'm like, I'll go to like a Puerto Rican's house and I'm like, this is fucking like Salvadorian food. And I go to like Dominican food. Like, when I had sancocho for the first time, I was like, this is sopa de res. People will fight me on it, but I'm like, bitch, it's the same motherfucking thing. It basically is,
and you need to have cocido, because that's that soup that you were talking about that you like. It's basically that soup. Cocido, you have to try.
It's the same thing. I love it because I feel like super connected. I talk to my other abuelita that passed away. I talk to her all the time. I actually include her in all of my spells, prayers. I think prayers is just a fancy schmancy word for spells, to be honest.
It is.
Like, whenever your mom is like, oh, tengo que rezar, or your abuelita is like, estoy rezando por ella, I'm like, bitch, that's a motherfucking spell. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like, Santa Maria, Madre de Dios, it's like, it's very like, girl, it's like fucking the girls from The Craft. They're like, Manon. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Yes, it is. I just dated myself a little bit. If you haven't seen The Craft, go watch The Craft. Yeah. But like, I think that's my favorite part too about being Latino. Like, I carry that energy with me through and through. So you had mentioned your dream about September 11th. Yeah. Mine actually wasn't. I lied. It wasn't the day before. It was like maybe like a week before, right? But mine was. I was sitting at my window in my room. I was 12 or 13 at the time, and I was looking out the window of my bedroom in my dream, and I saw this plane crash into the house next to mine. And I was engulfed in flame. I remember dying in my dream. And I was like, oh, I'm dead. And I was like, it was all this fire and all this stuff. And I came back and I like was still, and I was back at my window and I was watching the house next to me burn. And then another plane hit. And I was like, wow. And I just remember thinking like, whoa, I had never ever died in a dream before. And so I remember thinking when I woke up, like, that means something. Like, that's never happened to me before. And then after that, you know, like September 11 happened. But every time I dream that I die in some way, I know that something's gonna happen. I dreamt that I was in a car and it flipped over and I was like in this like jungle area, and I just remember there being like a mountain and there's like a lot of like vegetation. And I remember 2 days later, Left Eye died, and she had died in a car accident in like a heavy forested area. Now I can recognize, so for me, dreams is where I'm the most psychic. Oh, and I have this thing, I call them my spirits. It freaks my boyfriend out all the time. But I can hear my spirits talk to me, not in words necessarily, but they talk to me in suggestions. Like, they're like, you know, it would be great if Julissa started doing this. And I'll be like, yeah, would be great. And I'll like text you and I'm like, hey, I just heard that you should be doing this. And it'll be like, usually the person that I pick up is like, holy shit, like, what the fuck are you? Yeah. That is so weird. So I picked up on my aunt. Like, I was thinking, I was like, and it's always around water. So if I'm washing dishes or I'm in the bathroom or something.
Me too, my showers, my
place. Right? Yeah, it's because of all the energy in the water.
Yeah.
So like, you know, the other day I was like washing my dishes and I heard something bring up my tia Rosa, and I was like, your tia Rosa has always been so much love for you, and you love her. Like, isn't she great? Like, don't you just love her so much? You know, it'd be great. You should send her a message and tell her that she's loved, and tell her that whatever she's going through, it's gonna be okay, and she's gonna be great. She's gonna be fine. And so I remember I texted her. This is like the most recent one. I texted her, and she was like, I haven't been to work in a while. I'm going through something. I'm in talks with like legal. It's been really ugly for me. So this message means so much to me.
Wow.
I think it's my grandma. I think my grandma comes through and she's like,
Yeah.
because that's her daughter. So I think she's like, you know, it'd be great. Don't you love me?
I love that.
You know?
I definitely do. And so I've gotten Skittles onto because I have a very similar thing. Dreams are mine, but also it's not so much suggestion. It's again that thing that I like. Things start to play in my head, and it's like at first I thought I had ADD, but I've never been diagnosed. I get distracted by like these random like instances of like think of this thing or like this is, and there's like these like messages and these things. And I freak Skittles out all the time.
I love that.
Yeah, because and so I've started to lean into it.
Do you see a lot of money coming into my future? Here, do it. Right
maybe one day, though. I don't know. I'll tell you later.
She's all, that's so Raven.
I used to be side note. People used to tell me in high school that was my doppelganger. I didn't fully agree.
That's so like, funny. Raven Simone
all the time.
People being me.
People being Skittles.
She has this one picture with her eyebrow up.
I love it. I love Raven. I can see it.
I do. I love Raven. And I think so. I have these things, and then the way that I've been learning to affirm whether it is just daydreaming or a message is looking at numbers. So if I have a thought or a thing, and I look, and I have numbers 1 through 4 follow me a lot, but especially 1 and 3. So I see a lot of like these angel numbers and all this shit. Yeah. And so like I'll like if I'm thinking something and I see the number, I'm like fuck, like I just see it now. I just saw it now.
Yeah.
I just saw it now. Yeah. Then I will.
I'm gonna tell you something after. Okay, you tell me and I'll tell you, and
then I'll be like, okay, and I'll go see what the numbers mean if I forget, because sometimes I get combos that I've never gotten before, but of 1s and 3s or whatever, and then I'll be like, holy shit. And so this trip was part of that, like way back when I was having a really tough time, and I was like, I want to travel more. This podcast needs to pop off. Like I need to be doing this thing. Like, and then I had something in my head that was like, no, you need to do both at the same time, and I was like, I want to manifest traveling for work for my podcast.
I love that.
That is what I need to manifest. And so I lit my candles, and here we are.
I love that. Yeah. It's so funny that you say that too, because my numbers are actually 143.
Wow.
And 1111.
1111, yeah.
I was born, on my birth certificate, I was born August 29th, 1111 in the morning. So everything reads, my little like bracelet on birth, my little birth certificate, anything that was documented that day says 1111.
Wow.
So that for me is always like confirmation that I'm exactly where I need to be, and and everything is going to be okay.
Yes.
143 in again, no, this isn't me. My sister was a little older. In pager beeper code back in the day meant I love you.
Yeah.
1 I for love and 3 for you. And so I always see it as a sign from the universe being like, you are loved. I see you. I love you. Keep going. But I don't use that to confirm my spirit stuff. So I'll do that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Once you start paying attention to it, you're gonna like be crazy about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I love it.
literally, because now we text each other. We have like a group chat, me and Julissa and our 2 gay best friends.
Yeah.
And we literally text each other screenshots of like when shit is happening. And like even my mother today, I called her to just check in. And I've been talking to her a lot about it. And so whenever she catches 1111 or something like that, she'll text me.
My dad too.
And today, like specifically, because I was telling her, yeah, we've gotten everything that we planned done or whatever. She was like, well, you need to thank the universe or God, whatever you call him now. But because I've been like, yeah, it's the universe. And so that's her thing now. She's like, I don't care if you want to call it God or the universe, but somebody's here doing something for you.
We just did a skit where Gadiel was playing Jesus, and one of the lines that we wrote for him was like, I don't know why everyone's praying to the universe now. Like, what's the universe on for you?
I love that.
But I also think that it's something that you can fine tune. I'm trying to figure it out more and more, because sometimes I can't tell if it's my own like paranoia as far as like leaving the house. Like I hate going to the market. But I don't know if it's because I pick up on everyone's energy. So I don't like it.
Yeah.
Or it's like different spaces. Like I know for a fact that I'm an empath. Actually, Vida told me that I was a hypersensitive person, and I had no idea. She was like, "Girl, you pick up everything."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, like that's cool." Again, language.
Yeah.
Like words that you're using for yourself that you just never knew before.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
But that's super cool. I think that you should. I believe that folks with a little bit more of the feminine energy, so in all femmes, I think have it a little bit more. And this can, all the mask people and all the men are like, whatever. Like, I think there's something about the femme energy that allows you to kind of be more compassionate, to kind of understand people and feel people. Like, I just will be right next to you, and I know that that's like the female side of me picking shit up, you know?
Yeah. No,
and it's
I
like,
think
how can
so.
I help? What can I do?
Yeah, it's like that motherly complex. And like, you know, they say women create life. I mean, with men, but like this idea that like even feminine energy like lives in a place where it connects with a being before the being fully comes into play. I
agree,
think that like naturally
Yeah.
that feminine energy lends itself to making that connection.
I have a theory that the female organism was the original organism and that it needed to survive, and so it created this like little subspecies to just kind of like you're not really one of us, but like I guess, and it created like the men. Like, I think that the story of Adam and Eve was like a flip. Like, I truly believe that it was like the rib of a woman that was like, I just need your help in keeping the female race, the woman race alive. Because there's something about the masculine brain, the side of myself that I can feel that I'm like, oh, so you dumb. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, so you dumb.
For sure. Yeah. I honestly, I love it. I lean into it. I agree. I think people who are Latinx have an inkling to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that it's like the gray area around it has begun to clear up and like people are open. I don't like the whole like a place like Forever 21 can try to sell like sage or some shit like that.
Oh, no, that's awful. Yeah, especially because it's like the resources are going down. Like, you don't know. Like, I mean, Kat came over and my energy was like a little funky, and I immediately started lighting my Palo Santo, and I was like, like just my own thing. But yeah, when for places like that, I'm like I think Sephora was selling like the bruja kit.
Yeah, they were the ones selling that. I said Forever, but I meant Sephora.
I was like,
yeah.
Why?
Yeah. It was silly.
I think I saw some other memes that were like, if you're white or something, or all these other things, the post showed like holy things that you could burn from different cultures that were European cultures. So it was like, you don't necessarily have to burn sage, you don't have to burn Palo Santo, things that are part of your culture. But if you want to burn this leaf instead. It's good for this. You know what I mean? I stay burning shit at my house, to be honest. If I can burn it, I fucking do it. I burn it. If it's natural from the earth, like, I'll do like little remedies and little spells all the time. I just did a bunch of love spells because I was just like, I'm just sending them all the love and being like, I hope they find more love in their life. Yeah. So I just like, you know, I don't know if I should put this on blast, but you throw a little cinnamon in. Yeah. You throw a few rose petals in, and you burn the shit up. You know?
100%. Shit works.
Yes.
Shit works.
Also, shout out to Vida and her card of the day, because I have become a very faithful
that's card of the day, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's the time we have for today. Thank you guys so much. Honor having you here.
Yes.
Thank you for
having me. So glad we had somebody who loves talking about dick as much as we do.
Yes.
So, any last shout outs and tell us where we can find you?
You could find me at the Curly V as in Victor's show. So at the Curly V show on Instagram. You can also find me on my channel. I think it's called the Curly V show as well. I started the channel when I was like a young kid, so it was the hyperlink or the URL is I Would Cry For You. Oh my god. So go to YouTube / I Would Cry For You.
I Would Cry For You.
And then you could also find me on Buzzfeed's Better Like with my beautiful castmates.
Yes. And you can find us at ladieswhobronche on Facebook, Instagram, at ladieswhobronche on Twitter, all the major platforms for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, bronche.